Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. With the ban list just having happened, and the top 100 decks coming out, I figured, hey, let's take a look at the top 100 deck lists from the Duelist Cup, and give you an overview as to what has been played. And most notably, my thoughts on it as well. We're going to start off here with Ryan Yu. Ryan Yu popped off. He was like 1,400 points above second, 14,000 points above second place. So he was far and away a lot better than anyone else. And he decided to play Labyrinth, utilizing 5 Rainbow Magician, which is notably now at 1. I would like to see it banned, but not that big of a deal. And that was it. That's like the only thing that would have changed from his list is 1 less copy of 5 Rainbow, and it's a pretty clean list, and he played immaculately. So very interesting, very cool list here. You can take a quick look at it. I'm not going to go over all of the deck lists in a similar fashion. I did that on stream. If you want to go check that out, you absolutely can. It's the most recent stream. It won't be the most recent stream when you're watching this, but it'll be there. It'll be the top 100s deck list. Next up, we have second place, which was playing Fire King with Unicorn, which Unicorn also went to 2. And a lot of decks look very similar to this one. It's almost identical, utilizing mostly the same extra deck and mostly the same deck as well. Just the one the one Unicorn difference. Some decks were playing 3 Unicorn, some decks were only playing 2 Unicorn, and stuff like that. But they were all no, some of them weren't playing Birth, but obviously they were only playing the 1. Having 2 Birth is disgusting. I hate this. Anyway, moving on. We still have 3rd place, but 4th place was Super Heavy Samurai, and this is again a pretty standard list. However, it's utilizing the King Calamity lock. Now, I'm surprised that King Calamity himself wasn't banned. This seemed like the most simple ban, at least in my mind, for Super Heavy Samurai, so I would imagine if Super Heavy Samurai sticks around and continues to be a problem, that is likely on the chopping block. Next up, we have more Snake Eye stuff. Nothing of real note here other than the Unicorn, as we mentioned previously. But yeah, Snake Eye is pretty good, and a lot of people are playing it. Notably, this one is actually playing Baron, as opposed to the second place list, which was in fact not playing any Synchro monsters or anything other than Lynx. So there's that. Next we have 7th, which is, again, very similar. This time no Fenrir and no Birth, just using Unicorn just as a body. And this is where I would like to have seen Unicorn at 1. Honestly, Unicorn just being able to freely special summon itself and to basically force the opponent to lose something if they max you, or if they Ash Blossom you, or if they basically interact with you in any capacity is really, really frustrating. And I don't like this card, and I would love to see it go to 1 alongside Fenrir, and just like entirely get rid of them. But alas, Konami doesn't do that. Next up, we have another Labyrinth list utilizing Soul Resonator, which is kind of interesting because it allows them to go into some of the extra deck monsters more efficiently and stuff like that. But more heavily running Floodgates as well. This time they're running Gozin and Skill Drain and Power Sink Stone on top of everything else, which is very powerful. So yeah, not as many hand traps, just the Maxi and the Nib, and then just a bunch of Floodgates as well. We also have Nadir Servant here, which is Semide now, which is mostly to get the Ecclesia. We have 9th place, who was playing a whole bunch of different decks, all 3 of the top decks that we've already seen thus far, and nothing really of note other than, I guess, Big Benkei, which can technically do stuff and allows you to go into the extra deck monsters more efficiently, but overall, nothing really of note. Yeah, just more Floodgates and stuff like that with the lab builds instead of playing hand traps. If you're not Ryan Yu, I guess hand traps are, difficult to use. You actually have to know what the opponents are playing, and that's not fun, especially when you're playing for that long. Just flip a Floodgate. Do I think this is better? No, honestly, I really don't. I think the Floodgates are very easy to deal with, a lot of them. Unless you're seeing multiple of them. So for the most part, I feel like it's just not really worth it. And you lose really hard in like the mirror matchup if that were to happen. So there's that. In a Duelist Cup environment, I think that they're great. In not the Duelist Cup, I think that Floodgates aren't as good as just playing hand traps, because you're going to play against a lot of different decks and a wider variety of decks where the Floodgates may not matter, or will do significantly less. We have another player, 10th place, utilizing Vanquish Soul. Tearlament, and Snake Eye. But yeah, some pretty interesting lists as well. Pretty standard lists, I would imagine. Most notable thing from the Vanquish Soul is playing 3 Ghost Spell, but you need an Earth, and instead of playing Trivikarma, or not Trivikarma, Kurikara Divakarnate, they're instead playing the extra Earths, which I think is fine for the most part. Moving on, we have 11th place, which is just Tearlament. And honestly, this list looks very good. I might steal it. It's a nice, clean 40 list with just Shaddoll Beast, 1 Destrudo, playing Trick Clown to give you access to your rank 4s more efficiently, which I do like, and a bunch of other stuff like that that are just very cool, and overall a very solid list. We have more Super Heavy Samurai. There's nothing really too big of note from the Super Heavy Samurai lists. This one notably isn't playing the True King Calamity, or the King Calamity lock. Is it True King Calamity? It's not True King. It's something else, right? It's High King Calamity? What is that card's name? Archfiend Calamity. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Calamity. King Calamity. My God. My goodness, I cannot speak. Anyway, yeah, nothing of note there. 14th is branded in Snake Eye. Yeah, kind of weird. Branded Fusion, like genuinely is just here. Now, I would imagine the idea is send it off of Verte Anaconda in order to go into like an Albion or something along those. I think it's an Albion is what they're actually trying to make, so that they can go Fallen Valvaz, bring back a guy to fusion summon to basically give a polymerization on the opponent's turn. So I guess it did pretty well. It's kind of interesting. I might play this deck because it's like a very unique style, but overall, next up we have Branded, 60 card Branded. I would have liked to have seen Grass Band. I think this is the biggest problem currently. In a best of 1, I just don't think Grass is very good or very well balanced, because it basically means that like if you see Grass, it just kind of like fixes the game oftentimes in one player's favor, and I really don't like that in best of 1s. I think if you were to put this in a best of 3, I think at 1 it's fine. Because you just have more access to games 2 and 3 to potentially kind of curve that high variant opportunity. But when it comes to a best of 1, it's just, if this resolves, you just win the game. I don't think I've ever won a game after Grass is resolved from the opponent, and I don't think I've ever lost a game when Grass is resolved for myself, right? So, there you go. Next up, we have more Labyrinth, more Floodgates and stuff like that. But very trap heavy, this one. Not even playing Nibiru, playing Duality and stuff like that. Just set a bunch of cards. That's kind of the idea with this one. Notably, I've been noticing, less people have been playing more copies of Lady, and it's been either 1 to 2 copies. Mostly a lot of 1, I've noticed in this. So that's kind of interesting, just the 1 copy. As we can see here, right? Similar list, this one playing Rollback, a little bit interesting. I like the Bystials. I think Bystials were pretty good. They deal pretty well with a lot of the metagame. They deal with Labyrinth. Well, they can, I say deal with, they hit Labyrinth cards, which is pretty nice. They hit, like, the IP Masquerena or a Link Karibo or something like that, which is very nice as well. You also have the ability to, like, deal with a wide variety of other random cards, like from Branded or etc., right? So not terrible there. We have more Lab from this player as well. We have this weird amalgamation of 60 cards, which I'm actually going to zoom out to look at more efficiently. But yeah, you can kind of see that here. It's something, I guess. It's not Calamity locking you, but it is basically just making a whole bunch of negates. So, you know, I would tell you how this works, but honestly, I don't even know. And there's always one of these that show up in these deck lists. So there's that. Yeah, that's more or less all in terms of, like, basics. You know, we've kind of gone over everything that has been seeing relevant play. Shifter was pretty notable in some lab lists, or just lists in general. If your deck could feasibly play lab, or could play Shifter, it probably was. There were a lot of decks like that. Notably, Tri-Brigade. Tri-Brigade and Vanquish Soul. This player is based. But also, they're playing the Sprite version of this list, which is pretty cool. Honestly, just very cool lists overall. Very fun. Very well done. But one thing I want to point out with this in particular is that I think with the Duelist Cup, a lot of people look at it and go, wow, this must be what the meta is, right? This must be like, you know, the best decks. Therefore, by representation, it's the best decks. But here's the thing. And this goes to show just how good like someone like Ryan Yu is. It really doesn't matter what deck you are playing. I don't think Labyrinth is the best deck. Yes, it shows up quite often in this in the Duelist Cup, but I still believe Snake Eye is by far the best deck. The difference is, if you're just the better player, you can kind of play whatever, and that goes to show, or that is showcased, I would say, in decks like this, right? With Vanquish Soul, with Tri-Brigade, with Sprite, etc., right? These decks are not insanely powerful. They're fairly competent, and they are definitely strong, but they're not nearly as strong as most of the other decks in the current metagame. They're not nearly as strong as Labyrinth. They're not nearly as strong as Snake Eye. They're not nearly as strong as Branded. But yet they're still here in the top, and even in the top, like, 50, which is quite impressive. And because of that, to me, this just goes to show that it's like, it's not necessarily about playing the best deck. It's about playing for so long. And it is so much more a mentality thing and just a dedication thing. I have never tried to commit myself to playing the Duelist Cup for that long. The most I've played in a single 72-hour period for the Duelist Cup was like 14 hours. And I did fairly well. I got top like 10,000, which is not that big of a deal, but like I played fairly well. It was a very interesting meta. I think it was the tier meta, which I really enjoyed. And so like I had a really good time, but I would never try to play nearly as much because it's just not worth it. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the investment. And yeah, I would never suggest doing it. It just doesn't work as a format, and I think it's a bit silly. I know that a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players are like, oh, but you need to play an insane amount of games so that you can get rid of variance. And the thing is, that's not what Yu-Gi-Oh is. Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of variance. That's just how Yu-Gi-Oh is. It's a luck-based game. So I feel like it'd still be better if there was like a cap to the amount of games. Even if it was just like 100 games played, like you could only play 100 games, then fine. And then people are like, oh, well, then what about this, that, or the other thing? Well, Konami could do something about that, and they could not be lazy, and it would be fine. Anyway, moving on. Notably about this Vanquish Soul deck, it's Vanquish Soul Snake Eye, which is kind of funny. We have Snork Me Me Me. Yay, Cybers. And then, of course, shout out to Zombie. Look at this clean, immaculate Tri-Brigade list. Oh, Tri-Brigade Lyralisk, even 40 cards. The one Pot of Desires, I love it. Just nice, clean, consistent. Not even playing Tenki. Why play Tenki when you could just draw two instead? It's just better, right? Oof, I love it. Even playing Rugal, which I don't hate. Yeah, just solid list. We have another 60 card Branded here. Nothing of real note. We have this is one of two Zodiacs that are in this, which is basically just an anti-meta call. But Zodiac is actually not all that terrible. I think a lot of people like really undervalue how good Zodiac is, especially for something like a Duelist Cup. They win quickly, and they lose quickly. But, notably, they are also incredibly powerful because of Zeus, right? They have the ability to just kind of like auto-win games by just nuking the opponent's field, or even nuking your own field sometimes, but just like nuking the field in general with Zeus, and being able to do that through, or without activating any effects is very, very valuable as well. So you can just kind of go, cool, here's Borbo into Zeus. This also can play around something like a King Calamity, which is notable. So like you can go, normal summon a guy, attack, or special summon Borbo, attack, slap on a whole myriad of material with all of these guys, and then slap on a Zeus, and then pass the turn back to your opponent. You didn't activate a single card there. Didn't need to. And then as the opponent goes, you just go, cool, I'm going to nuke your field. And you go Zeus, Zeus, Zeus. And you get like 3 activations of Zeus. So they have to have 3 negates, which is, like, it's kind of likely, but it's not like 100% guaranteed, right? So there you go. Especially if they're not playing Apo. If they don't, like, make Apo Baron, you know? So they basically they need, like, Regulus, Apo, Baron, or, like, Regulus, not Regulus. Yeah, Regulus. You know, basically they need 3 negates, which hopefully they're not getting because of, you know, all of the interactions that you have. So there's that. We have a more Snake Eye Kashtira, more Snake Eye, more Super Heavy Samurai. Oh, notable is the Machina Metal Crusher, which is basically just a normal summon in order to get you into this guy. It just searches out Motorbike, and then you activate Motorbike into your Wakaushi in order to get your full combo. You could also potentially search something like a Soul Piercer if you need to, or a Soul Peacemaker. It just kind of gets you any of your Earth machines as long as they are at 3. Or not at 3, but like as long as you reveal the 3 Earth machine monsters. Because guess what? It's not just 3 differently named. It's just 3 Earth machines. So basically, you reveal 3 Motorbike, and you grab Motorbike. You could reveal 2 Soul Peacemaker or Soul Piercers and a Motorbike, or 2 Soul Peacemaker and a Soul Piercer, or whatever it may be, and then you get, you know, one of those. Similar to my friend Pearly. We have more Lab. We have Stun. Stun always does well. Well, I say does well. There's always 1 or 2 of them. I would love to see some of the floodgates that are very clearly problematic, like Kaiser Coliseum, Rivalry, Gozen, Skill Drain, etc. banned. They're not very fun in Best of Ones. They're really problematic, and I'd love to see them go. But yeah, this is Runic Stun. The Runic cards aren't doing anything here. It's these things here. More branded. This one is a 50 card branded, which is notable. More Snake Eye, more Vanquish Soul with the Shifter. More Snork Me. We have Makanko. And again, you can play whatever you want. As long as you're dedicated enough, you can make it work. Yeah, nothing really of note. 3 super polymerization, by the way. Oh, yes. One thing I do want to point out with super polymerization, it's been in a couple of lists, but we haven't talked about this card in particular, which is kind of notable, which is the Dragon Knight Draco Ekist, or Ekest? I don't know how to say this card. Which is basically just a fusion material for a Dragon-type Synchro and a Warrior-type monster. Now, this may seem kind of weird, but with Super Heavy Samurai in particular, this is basically an auto-win against that deck, because what it allows you to do is utilize your opponent's Baron and either a Bestial Dispotter or your what is it? The King Calamity card, Crimson Dragon. That's the other one I was thinking of. So you can use either a Baron or you use Baron and a Crimson Dragon to fuse those 2 off, which gets rid of basically all of their plays, and then you get a massive guy. The effect doesn't matter as much in something like this, but the effect is very good, to be fair. Target a Dragon Synchro monster in the graveyard, banish that, and if you do until the end of this card's name, you basically replace the effect. So you can get something like the Bestial Baldrake, or not Baldrake, Bestial Dispotter effect. You can get a Borreload Savage Dragon effect, which is notable. You can get a myriad of other things as well. So it's just like a decently good card, and it is, it's okay. Also, while this card is in attack position, your opponent takes any affected damage you would have taken from their card effects instead. Which doesn't really matter, but it could come up. We have more branded, more Mathmech, more branded, and Vanquish Soul, I guess, with Pluton, which is kind of funny. More Mathmech, hooray. More Zodiac with a very notable inclusion being deck lockdown. So instead of playing Macrocosmos, which I actually don't like in Zodiac, but notably the other deck wasn't playing Dimensional Shifter, this one is. So Dimensional Shifter and deck lockdown. Now, what does deck lockdown do? If you don't play the TCG, or if you haven't kept up with the TCG, this is a very common deck in side decks. I say very common, it's a fairly common deck, or inclusion. And what it does is neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand, except by drawing, and monsters can't be special summoned from the main deck. Now, this was notably the inclusion against Unchained, because what you would do is you would activate it, and then they can't search any of their cards with something like a Yama or what have you, and they can't special summon any of their monsters. So it's really good against Unchained. However, it's still very good just in general. It's a decently good floodgate that prevents a lot of random summons and a lot of random cards. So for example, if you were to deck Lockdown Snake Eye, they wouldn't be able to use Original Sin. Pretty useful. So that's something else to keep in mind if you want to play this list. Also, based 69. Gotta love it. We have Stun. That's all. Yep. I do not know why this card is still around. I could not tell you as to why Pachycephalo is still around in a best of one format. I don't know. Could not tell you for the life of me. We have a PK Duelist who ended up winning or doing fairly well, getting 72nd, which is 48 cards. I don't know what's going on here. I wish I could tell you. I just get lucky, dude. Just don't draw any of your 9 bricks, dude. It's that simple. We have more Snake Eye. We have Tearlament. Now, a bunch of players were playing Tearlament, but it wasn't ever really like the sole deck that they were playing. It was oftentimes like a secondary deck. And Tearlament's still very good. Like, I genuinely think that Tearlament is pretty strong. This one is playing triple Offerings of the Doomed, as well as Trivikarma at 3, which is weird. I could not tell you as to why they were playing Offerings. I wish I knew, but yeah, I have no idea. We have more Snake Eye, Tearlament, and Super Heavy Samurai. More Super Heavy Samurai. We have more Snake Eye. That's the name of this deck. More Snake Eye. More Snake Eye. More Super Heavy Samurai. This one not... Oh, yeah, it is. It's just also playing Satellite Warrior. What the hell? That's a new inclusion. More Labyrinth with the Power Sync Stone, which is kind of interesting. We have ourselves Kashtira, like actually just pure Kashtira, as well as Super Heavy Samurai, utilizing... Oh yeah, Synchro Rumble. This is a very interesting tech that I've seen a few decks playing, because I believe it's searchable off of one of the Synchros. I don't know. I know it's searchable. I don't remember how. But what it does is you target a tuner or a level 7 or 8 dragon synchro monster in your grave, special summon it into defense, and then also for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon it from the extra deck except for synchro monsters. So that's something of note. But if a level 7 or 8 dragon synchro monster or crimson dragon you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card instead. So what I've seen people do is for the Calamity Lock, they'll go for the Crimson Dragon, utilizing this card's effect to basically get another body onto their field, to basically go into the King Calamity more efficiently. And what they then do off of that is, with Baron already on field, because they can do that, they'll go and pop the Crimson Dragon and then just banish the Rumble, so that it's still like on all of the super heavies are still online. So that's kind of the idea behind that one, which is very strong. We have another 60 card branded list utilizing the 5 Rainbow as well, which is why I kind of wanted to see it banned. Because having it at 1 means that you're less incentivized to play it, but having it banned means that even something like branded isn't able to get it into rotation. We have more Vanquish Solon, Super Heavy, more Math Mech, and Labyrinth. We have Kashtira, just pure Kashtira. We have more Super Heavy Samurai. We have more Labyrinth. This is a very interesting list. It's a very funny list. I'm just going to show you it. Because I really don't know how to explain this. Okay? It's a deck. That's for sure. So, there you go. More Super Heavy, more Cash Snake Eye, and then last but not least is this incredibly based Duelist playing a 60 card Tri-Brigade Sprite Adventure shenanigans. I don't know what's going on here, but I love it, and I need to play this deck, and I will, and you will see it on stream at some point. Oh, I love this. It's so cool. Terror Top at 3 is such a silly thing that they have given us. I know some people have been like, Terratopter 3 is fine. Honestly, no, it's weird. Don't put it back to 1. Put it back. Put it back. I don't like it. It's kind of enabled some janky stuff, which I'm not necessarily here for. But yeah, there you go. That's it for all of these. Notably, this was a very diverse format. I think a lot of people were expecting things like Snake Eye to heavily dominate, and while it definitely was the most represented, I don't think it was as heavily dominant as a lot of people expected, especially compared to like Tier or even Pearly, I think. I think Pearly had a similar representation when it was the best deck, or when it popped off, right? So there you go. And I know some people are like, oh, Labyrinth needs a nerf. And to be fair, I think it does need a nerf, but not in the same way that a lot of other people might think. I don't think the actual Labyrinth cards have ever been the problem. I think Labyrinth is a very fair strategy and a very fair deck. I think most of the problem comes from the floodgates, right? Things like 5 Rainbow, things like Rivalry, and things like Dimensional Barrier, as well as, what is the other one? Eradicator Epidemic Virus, right? And any of those virus cards or what have you, because those tend to be where people don't enjoy dueling against the deck, and it becomes a big problem, right? So if that's the case, yeah, it's not fun playing against Labyrinth, but if you're actually like playing the game, like even with the hand traps that are here and stuff like that, I think that this is a lot more interesting of a game and a lot more fun of a duel and a lot more fair. It's basically just a myriad of hand traps with, 5 Rainbow in here doing his thing. But yeah, all in all, like, Ryan Yu's just better. It's that simple. But that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, I like this very much. I appreciate it. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.